Hey guys, your old buddy Mile High again. Still in the Gunnison National Forest. As you can see, I am blessed with another beautiful day here in the forest. We're out a little bit earlier this morning, but man, I tell you what, 4th of July weekend, and it is just absolutely gorgeous. So I'm gonna do a quick run through of the 2024 KLR 650. I've had this bike for a few weeks now, and I've got over 1,000 miles on it, so I figure it's time for a 1,000-mile review. As I said in my other video, this is a very stock bike. This is a very baseline bike. Also, as I said, I only paid $5,800 for it, brand new. The only mods I've done to it is the bash plate, the skid plate on the bottom there. Okay, so this is the Tusk hard aluminum skid plate. As you can see, it gives quite a bit more protection. The plastic one that came from the factory stopped about right here, somewhere in there. As you can see, this one bolts all the way up. Now you can see where the drain plug would have been in this hole right here. And now there you go. You can see I put the low profile in there. So it's a lot more protection. And like I said in the first video in the series, I'd come across a big rock, and actually another time I came across a cattle guard that was kind of raised up out of the ground. So I kind of slid this thing across, you know, made some contact with a linkage back there, but it didn't do any real damage. So I think this just adds to the bulletproof nature of the KLR. So that is one of the mods that I have done. This bike is pretty much a throttle and a 650 single cylinder thumper engine. The tires on it right now are still the stock tires. And I tell you what, guys, I've had great luck with these tires. I've had it ridden on the highway. I think the top speed on this bike, at least that I've seen, is about 84 miles per hour. It's a 5-speed, so in 5th gear it'll do 84. It might go faster downhill. But it is fuel injected, and I think I'm about 11,000 feet right now. I'll double check that. I think this area that I'm riding into, we're camped at about 9,000 feet. I think I rode up to about 11,000 feet. And it doesn't stutter, of course, it's fuel injected. You know, I've had bikes and, you know, riding altitude here in Colorado. Some bikes will stutter and you can rejet them, and I've done that. I've had bikes and rejetted them, and they did pretty well. But the fuel injection, you know, I feel like it's got more immediate power. You know, there's like a carburetor ramp when you have carburation. This is more immediate. And this bike is really all about torque. You know, it's not high horsepower. Like I said in the other video, I think it's around 40. I think it's 40 horsepower, about the same torque. You guys correct me in the comments if I'm wrong on that. But thus far, after 1,000 miles, absolutely love it. I mean, it gets me back in the woods, and I can ride over logs, you know, of moderate size, and rocks, and get through more technical terrain. You know, out here in the Rocky Mountains, it's fairly rocky. I mean, this is really nice out here because there's a lot of topsoil in this national forest. But a lot of rides I'll be doing in the future, you guys will see, it's like bare rock. So we'll do more on that in the future. But so yeah, it's, you know, the seat is super comfortable. This one did not come with luggage, so I just threw that CorTech bag on there, and that's enough for me to carry water. I didn't bring my GoPro this trip, so you know, I can have my GoPro in there and whatever I want to store in there. I haven't had a really big need for luggage. You know, I've got the Gold Wing, and it has tons of luggage. But for this bike, you know, it's just really for me to get out into the woods. So, but the throttle response on this bike's really good. You know, there's no ABS, so that means I can lock up the rear tire when I want to. It doesn't feel like I'm out of control by any means. You know, some people, the rider assistant mods and things like that, you know, it can help like a beginner rider. But I think really what you should do is just start on something smaller, you know, like get you a little dirt bike or something to tool around with, so you get used to being on dirt, you know, because when you're on dirt, the bike will move around underneath you. You have to get used to that sensation. I think this bike is 460 pounds. but because I do have dirt riding experience, it doesn't bother me. And I know to be careful to not get too turned over at slow speeds. I think when things happen, that's when it happens. Like today, I've done a few U-turns in dirt and gravel, and you know, if you're brand new, then being in those situations, and you know, I'm 6'2", I'm a taller rider, so I can mount this bike fairly easily. Plus, I run about 270 pounds, so I think the ratio, you know, that may make it a little bit different. You know, it just doesn't. It's a big bike, but doesn't feel like a behemoth to me. But I think it's an excellent price point. You know, like I said, you know, this is a 2024. I bought it in 25 and got it for $5,800, and they waived all the delivery fees and all the stuff usually that the dealership gets on you. So it was about $6,100 out the door. I think this is an excellent bike to start with, just for the price point. If anyone who's interested in adventure riding, and just to kind of talk about some of the things, this is like as stock as it gets, guys. So you have these covers here, but these are not bark busters by any means, as you can see that. Really what this does is it just covers your hand from the wind. You know, it gets cool pretty fast here, you know. Fall will sneak up on us. It'll be winter before you know it. And I'm planning on doing some winter rides on it, and I'm going to record that. But this gives you really good wind protection. There's some rubber mounts in here, and the handlebars, and then down on the foot pegs. Let me come around this side so you guys can better see the foot pegs. So you can see there's like this rubber on here, and this kind of isolates you from the thumping, from the vibrations. And this bike does have some vibration to it, but for me it's soothing. It doesn't bother me at all. I mean, and I can ride it. I've ridden it 4 hours, 5 hours without getting off of it. And you know, you can get some tingling. You know, people talk about having like tingling in your hands. I find that I get that more when I'm death gripping. You know, sometimes I'll just lock on with, you know, wearing gloves, and I'll lose circulation in my hands. But if I'm riding, you know, with more of a relaxed grip, and that's the other thing with that 21-inch front wheel, this thing feels really stable when you're going through, you know, obstacles and, you know, around woods and rocks and stuff like that. So you just got to relax a little bit, don't death grip. But I don't feel like, you know, the vibration through the bike, I mean, it feels, in my opinion, really smooth on the highway. The suspension is set up stock. You know, the rear end does have some settings to it, like a preload, and I can't think of what the other thing is, you know, to control the spring rate. Maybe that's what it is, the spring rate, you know, when the shock releases. But I don't feel like I need it. I mean, I've ridden through washboards on this bike. The way it comes stock, as far as the suspension settings, feels very comfortable to me. You know, some people, I don't know, they think it might be too soft. And I mean, if you're really hitting it, I mean, you can start bouncing around. But I feel like this would be the same on a dirt bike, you know. I mean, this is a dual sport motorcycle. I think it's set up for about 50-50, you know, 50% dirt, 50% highway. The tires on the highway are fantastic. I can corner this thing and turn it over, and it's super flickable. I mean, it is so much fun. And because it's a 650, I mean, you can really brap it, you know what I mean? You know, I've got a leader bike, and if I open that leader bike up, I don't want to be doing 130 around a corner. You know what I mean? So you have to be more cognizant of how much power you're putting into it. But with this bike, you can just wrap it, man. I mean, it is just so much fun to ride. And it's the same thing on dirt because of the, you know, 40 horsepower. I mean, on gravel roads, I can just get into that throttle, man, and just come around the corners. And, you know, that's something I'm learning right now, is how to corner on gravel at speed, meaning like, you know, 35, 40 miles an hour. And I'm getting better at it, you know, and what I'm learning is you tilt the bike underneath you versus lean with the bike like you do on the road. And it's getting more and more comfortable. And that's the thing that a lot of people will learn, and I've learned with this bike after 1,000 miles, is, you know, you can read and you can watch videos like these. You got to get on a bike. You got to get out there. You got to start with the right price point where you have enough money, you know, for gear, right? Like you got to have a helmet, and I've got some armor in that jacket, and those are my riding gloves over there, and I'm wearing boots and riding pants right now. And if you guys, saw some of the drive-by videos, you'll see I ride in hiking boots, which is a big no-no, in the community. But I just try to be careful. I mean, I've had full riding boots, like the dirt bike boots, but man, they are just so uncomfortable. And I've got some big feet. So it's easy to be uncomfortable in those kind of boots. So I do wear, they cover my ankle and there's support there, but it's a little bit of a risk, if I get too technical and put my foot down, which I typically don't put my feet down. But you want to get in at a price point where, you can still afford gear, because you'll need some gear. But yeah, this bike it's fantastic. Like I said, on the road itself, and I'm going to change up the tires here soon, and then I'll do a video on that. But it's right now, I mean, they hook up really well on asphalt, and they hook up really well in the dirt. I've gone through a few sand pits. I should have recorded that. I'll make some more videos on that. But we had there's another area in Colorado that I ride that's got some deep sand pits in it. And that felt a little unstable running through there, but it could just be I'm out of practice. I haven't done as much dirt riding as I have in the past. So, me getting this bike is really getting me back out in the dirt, which I love. I love being in the woods. So it's just a fantastic value, guys. I mean, this thing, especially the base model at that price point, and if you read up, the KLR is bulletproof, and I plan to ride it until it fails on me. I'm just going to change the oil, and I'm not going to do a bunch of mods to it. I might do some mods to it, like bark busters and maybe crash bars. But right now, this bike is doing what it's designed to do, and that's get me out of the city, get me into the woods. And I am loving it. The seat is super comfortable. Riding the highway feels great. Like I said, about 84 is top speed in fifth gear. So depending on where you are, there's areas around here where people drive 90, 100 miles an hour, even though the posted speed limit might be 75. So you just have to kind of navigate that. I try to stay away from those areas. I typically get into the mountains, through back roads and things like that. So that's how I manage that. But it's a very forgiving bike, because of the lower horsepower, higher torque. I mean, it's kind of like riding a V-twin, like a Harley or something. Those kind of bikes are great starter bikes because you're not going to whiskey throttle and it take off on you, it's not going to run away from you. So yeah, I would say after 1,000 miles, I'm extremely pleased with this motorcycle, and I will continue to post updates and show you how things are going. And as I get more technical with it, I'll put those videos up as well. But I would 100% recommend this motorcycle for anyone that's trying to get out into adventure riding. It does have a high seat height. But I mean, even when I dismount it, I usually stop and set down the kickstand on a rock or something like that. And then I just mount off. And maybe I'll show some videos of that if there's any interest in seeing that, because it is a taller bike. So, but for folks that are, I don't know, probably 5'8", depends on your inseam and above. I mean, I think this bike is just fine. Get out and try to get a test ride. A lot of dealerships will just let you take one out, and it's a super great commuter bike. I mean, I probably should do a video on that, because I mean, just riding around town, of course, just like being on a motorcycle, you can park it anywhere, right? I mean, it's getting more and more crowded where I live, so it's nice to be able to park and not need a lot of space. I've got a big F-350 truck that's kind of hard to find spots to put that big boy, as it gets more crowded where I live. So that makes it a great commuter. And then the fuel economy on this thing, holy cow. I'm telling you guys, I have to do some more measurements, but I think I'm getting 50 miles to the gallon. I typically fill up on this bike about 220 miles. And of all my bikes, and maybe it's just me being conservative with fuel, I just not usually run that far. I mean, and with this bike, since you fill up in town, then go way out and the way back and then get back in, I'm really loving that fuel economy. That's another thing. That's a benefit from the single cylinder, the fuel consumption on it. So you get all that torque, and it's, for very little fuel. So that's another benefit of the bike. It's got great range. I think it's supposed to be 260 miles. I haven't run it that far yet, but I'll find out as I continue to ride it. So right now I'm just 1,000 miles in. I did the oil change at about 600 miles. That was super easy. I'll probably do a video, even though there's a ton of videos on that already. For this series, once I get, you know, to that point, then I'll do another oil change and show that. At least because I have the Tusk skid plate on there, and I have that different drain plug on it. So just to kind of show the difference there. I will say this, when you take the filter out, so the filter is right here, and with my shadow, you probably ain't gonna be able to see it. So this guy right there, this thing in there, that's where the fuel filter is. I had it standing up on a block in the garage when I changed the filter. As you can see, I got it on a piece of wood right there right now. Just get it to stand up a little straighter. And there was a lot of oil in there. Even though I had drained it out, when I took that thing off, a lot of oil came out and I made a big mess. So I know now that after I drain it, like to lean it over, you know, more on its kickstand naturally, and then kind of get that oil out of the filter compartment. Because I popped that cap, which was really easy to do. I made a mess. So I'll probably do a video on that, just kind of talk a bit more about that. I haven't done any night riding yet. So as far as I can tell, this headlight is really good, but I haven't really been out at night. But as we get into the fall, I'll get out and do some night riding, you know, because it'll just get darker earlier. And then I'll post some feedback on that. But right now, 100%, I would recommend this bike if you're looking for an affordable entrance to the adventure riding. This is what you want to do, guys. This is a fantastic bike, and hopefully enjoyed this video. I'm gonna go out and do some more riding. See you guys in the next one. Take care.